You wanted Rocky Beamon, huh?
But let me tell you, this one's a real doozy, a real puzzle box, and not the fun kind. We're talking murder and then more murder, but this time inside. Yeah, prison. A whole descent into darkness. We've got news articles, court documents, even a letter from the man himself. Chilling stuff.
Ready to dive in.
It's fascinating because you see Beeman's story, well, it's not just about, one bad act or two. It really makes you think about justice, right? Who decides what justice is and what happens when the system, the whole thing just doesn't deliver.
Okay, so to get to where Beamon ends up, we got to go back, way back. 2005, Florida. Beamon, he's with his girlfriend, Karen Wilkins, and they commit murder. Their first. Deborah Lacey, 47 years old.
And the motive, it's almost, well, straightforward, which is scary. They wanted her car to trade it for crack cocaine. Brutal, too. Tied her up, drowned her.
I was reading the court transcripts, and the family, Lacey's family, they're just devastated. Her nephew, Barry Grant, he says, I don't know, I just don't know what to say to somebody who doesn't have a soul.
And her daughter, Sarah, she was only 16 then, wrote a letter to the court talking about, everything her mom would miss. Her wedding, grandkids,
Yeah.
raw grief.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
And then there's the niece, Jill Morris. She puts it out there. I hate you with every ounce of my soul. The rage, the pain, it's all right there.
So, Beeman's facing the death penalty,
Mm-hmm.
and he takes a plea deal. Life without parole.
Mm,
But here's the thing. What does that tell us about him?
right?
Is it just, saving his own skin? Or is there maybe something more going on?
Yeah, good point. Because if it was just about, like you said, saving himself, that'd be it. The end of the story. But 7 years in, he kills again. This time, another inmate, Bruce Hunsicker.
And this is brutal, even more so. Over 80 stab wounds with a shank, homemade. He stalked him for days, even cleaned himself up, got rid of the evidence before going to dinner. Like it was nothing.
It's methodical, planned out. But here's the twist. Hunsicker was serving 6 life sentences for raping a 10-year-old girl.
So the question becomes, right, does Beeman's motive change?
Yeah.
Is this still cold-blooded? Or is there something else pushing him?
It's like vigilante justice, maybe? Taking it on himself to punish someone who he thinks deserves more than the system's giving. Man, it's complicated.
Totally. This is where this is where you can't just say, oh, good guy, bad guy. Even in prison, where, supposedly the dangerous ones are locked up, you still get this warped idea of justice coming out.
It's like he's taking over the system that's meant to control him, using it to get what he wants. But there's more. All 3 of his victims, they were all in for crimes against children. What's that about?
Right. So now we got to look at the psychology. Maybe Beeman's like latching onto this specific type of criminal.
Yeah.
To make people sympathize with him, even if it's twisted. He's tapping into that anger, that rage we feel when kids get hurt.
Like he's trying to be a hero, right? The protector, even though he himself is a murderer. Crazy.
It is. And that's what makes this so messed up. Even someone this violent can still, play with our emotions, tap
Yeah.
into our fears.
So is he like a real vigilante, or just justifying his like bloodlust? Is he like really trying to do good even if it's twisted? Or is it something, I don't know, darker?
It's a huge question, and I don't think there's a simple answer. It could
Mhm.
be his past, his maybe some trauma, the way things work in prison, maybe even a real belief that he's doing the right thing, even if it's so wrong.
And then there's, his mental state. Could this be like some kind of, I don't know, disorder making him do this?
Could be. The way he plans it all out, the no remorse in his letters, it could all be, a sign of something deeper. But again, hard to say without really digging in.
So we got this guy, right, planning everything out, picking specific victims, leaving these creepy messages, like he's daring the system to stop him. It's a game, a deadly game. But how does it all end?
Well, in 2020, just a few years after he gets sentenced to death, Beamon, he takes his own life in his cell.
So did he win? His twisted game. I mean, is that what he wanted all along?
His suicide, it adds another layer to this whole thing. Did he feel bad at the end? Or did he really believe until the very end that he was, doing some kind of good?
Yeah.
We can't know for sure.
It's not exactly a neat ending, is it? If anything, it's more questions.
Yeah. Beeman's case, from that first murder all the way to the end, it shows us how complicated people are and how even the best system, it can still have, cracks. It makes you think about what you believe, about justice, about revenge, about what makes us human.
Heavy stuff. We're going to take a minute, gather our thoughts, and then we'll get to the final takeaways from this whole this whole messed up case.
That letter, the one he sent to the judge after he killed Anderson, it's really something. Like he's practically bragging,
Yeah.
saying he wants to go to death row, like he's challenging them, the whole system.
Yeah, it's almost like he figured out, I don't know, a way to use the system to get what he wants,
Yes.
to make it do his dirty work, his version of justice. And that brings up a tough question. Like, can you ever say it's okay to, take revenge on someone like Hunsaker,
Right.
a child rapist? I mean, it's a tough one.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think it gets to something deep inside us, that need to get even. When the courts, when the law doesn't do it, doesn't make things right, some people, they feel like they gotta do something themselves. But that's a dangerous road. We
Yeah.
can't just have everyone deciding, well, this person deserves to die, so I'll take care of it. Even in prison, where the worst of the worst are supposed to be locked up, you can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the line? Right. If it's okay for Beeman, then who else? It's a whole mess.
It is. Beeman's case, it shows us how even the best system, it's not perfect. It's supposed to be fair, to punish, to help people change,
Hmm.
but it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, well, that's when you get someone like Beeman,
Yeah.
slipping through the cracks.
It's like hijacking the whole thing,
Uh,
turning it around to get what he wants. But the victims, they're all these guys he killed, they hurt kids. What's that tell us about Beeman?
Now we're getting into the psychology of maybe he's picking these guys on purpose
Yeah.
to make himself look better, even if it's all twisted up. He's playing on how we feel about people who hurt kids. It's powerful stuff.
So he's pretending to be the good guy, right? The protector, even though, well, he's already a murderer.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole case so disturbing. It's like even a monster, even someone like that can still, pull at our heartstrings, mess
Is-
with our heads.
So is he really like a vigilante? Or is it all just an excuse, to kill? Is it really about justice for him, even if it's messed up? Or is it, I don't know, is it something darker?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't know. I don't know if there's a simple answer. It could be a lot of things. His past, maybe he saw some bad stuff. Maybe the way prison is, who's in charge, who's not. Maybe he really believes he's doing the right thing, even though it's so wrong.
And we got to consider like his mind, right? Could he be, I don't know, sick mentally?
It's possible. I mean, the way he plans everything, the details and his letters, how he doesn't seem to care at all. That could be, some kind of mental issue. But again, it's hard to say for sure without really getting in there, examining him.
Okay, so we've got this guy, right? Planning these murders, picking specific victims, leaving these messages, these clues. It's like he's playing a game, but with people's lives. But how does this whole thing end?
Well, in 2020, just a few years after they put him on death row, Beamon, he kills himself right there in his cell.
So he won then his messed up game. Is that what he wanted all along?
It's tough to say, really. His suicide, it makes everything even more complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did he regret anything at the end, or did he still think he was, the good guy, the hero? We'll never really know.
It's not really a satisfying ending, is it? Just leaves you with more questions. Yeah.
It does. Beeman's case, his whole story, it's a reminder that people, they're complicated.
Yeah.
And the system, even the best one, it can fail sometimes. Makes you think about justice, about revenge, about what it means to be, human, all the good and the bad.
It's a lot to take in. We're gonna take a second, gather our thoughts, and then we'll get to the main points, the big takeaways from this whole messed up story. We've been really digging into this whole Rocky Beamon thing, haven't we? Murderer turned killer, even in prison. It's hard to wrap your head around, and it makes you think about what justice really means, and how we deal with the worst parts of people.
Yeah, his suicide, it's not exactly a period at the end of the sentence, is it?
Uh-huh.
More like a question mark. Did he ever feel bad about what he did?
Yeah.
Or did he go to his grave thinking he was, some kind of righteous, I don't know, avenger? It's hard to say.
We can't know what was going on in his head, but we can look at what he did, right? And the impact. This isn't just about one guy going bad. It's about, well, it shows the cracks in the system, in our laws, even in how we think about right and wrong.
You're right. He planned everything out, those murders,
Right.
even inside. Each one was worse than the last. And he picked those guys, the ones who hurt kids, maybe because he knew it would get to people, get under their skin. So was that just him being smart,
Yeah.
manipulating everyone, or did he really think he was, I don't know, doing some kind of good?
It's a scary thought, isn't it? But it shows just how complicated this whole thing is. You got someone who's clearly capable of terrible things, and then you got the system trying to figure out how to punish him, how to make him better, change him. But how do you do that when someone's set on doing bad?
That's the big question, right? Does rehabilitation, does any of that even matter when you got
Mhm.
someone like Beeman? Did it somehow make him worse,
Right.
by not seeing what was wrong with him, or by giving him I don't know, the chance to do more bad stuff?
And what about the families, the victims' families? I mean, yeah, you can understand why they'd be furious at the guys who hurt their loved ones, but does Beeman doing what he did, does that help them? Does it bring them any peace? Or does it just make things worse?
Hard to imagine finding any comfort in all this.
Yeah.
Demon's actions, they probably just added to everyone's pain. His suicide, it doesn't erase anything. It doesn't give us any real answers about why he did what he did. It's just sad, the whole thing.
This whole deep dive, it's taken us to some pretty dark places, huh? Well, we've seen how bad people can be, but we've also seen how hard it is to say what's right and wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
We talked about taking justice into your own hands, about what makes a killer tick, especially in prison, and we saw how even the best systems, they can still fail.
And even though we don't have all the answers, Beeman's case, it reminds us that we got to keep talking about these things,
Yeah.
about our justice system, about how we help people change, about why people do bad things. It's important.
Yeah, it's not about finding easy answers or judging people. It's about understanding how complicated we are, all of us, and knowing that even in the darkest places, there are things to learn, things to talk about. We got to keep trying to make things better, make the world a little less messed up.
I think that's the biggest takeaway here. We gotta face these tough questions. We gotta talk about them, really think about what we believe about justice, about punishment, and we gotta work to make a system that protects people and also gives people a chance to turn things around, a real chance.
It's a conversation that, well, it probably won't ever really end, but we can't ignore it because cases like this, like Rocky Beamon, they show us the potential for both, the bad, the really bad, but also the good, the hope for change, and that's what we got to hold on to.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a journey.